Anyway, welcome. This is Student
Yes,
Government.
welcome.
We just kind of introduced ourselves and went over our positions, but we can, since we've kind of already done our, we can answer any questions about student government. And just wanted to let you know I'm the elections chair, so applications for to join student government, because it is an election process, will go out next week, and we will the whole student body will vote next week. But for incoming members of student government, there are a handful of positions that you can be you're eligible for.
Yeah.
It's your grade level, what department, the department area that you're in. And there's also some at-large positions that we've created this year that should help all around represent the campus.
Yeah. So feel free, if your mic's not working, you can just chat us. But yes, also like Rachel, if all your questions are answered, like I don't want you to feel like you're trapped here until 7. Like if you need to go, that's fine. But if you want to stay here and chat with us, that my own shadow just distracted me. That's fine too. Rachel, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, 2 questions. One, do you have like a position for POC, like that represents specifically POC? And
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. The second one is, are these positions like, do you have to apply each year?
So I'll answer your second question first. Yes, you have to apply each year. With the way that it's our student government is set up, we do General Assembly elections in the fall, and then we do Executive Council elections in the spring. So that way, there's always somebody who kind of knows what's going on, somebody in charge theoretically. So we were all elected at the end of last year. And so this is our first year in these new positions, and you have to be in GA for a year to be eligible for exec. So we all did our time in a General Assembly, and now we have exec positions. But some people just choose to be in GA, it's less of a responsibility and things like that. So some people just stick with that. We do have people that usually do it for several years. So like, I know for several of us on here, this is our 3rd year doing it. And we do not have a specific chair or position for people of color. We're definitely trying to work. We tried something out last year. It just didn't really help us with diversification because, we do want to make sure we're representing the student body, but sometimes it's just one of those things I think is hard to quantify. But that's something we can change the Constitution, and we do that as a General Assembly. So that's something we could definitely look into. Go ahead, Kaden.
And Mac specifically changed, we worked to change the Constitution this summer for specifically in that direction, because we thought about putting chairs. That's why we took away some chairs and other positions to make more members at large for that specific reason.
Yes.
And so to describe exactly what we did, last year they added Greek life positions, and we took those away because of the fact that Greek life is not a very diverse group on campus. And so by taking that away, we're hoping, and we took away the required Greek life positions, but kept the same, but we increased the number of people that can be in the General Assembly. And so the hopes would be that is a more representative of the student body.
Yes. And I have been in conversation with the Coalition for Social Justice and Diversity. They're like an umbrella over all the social justice and diversity organizations on campus, because that was something I approached them about, would y'all like to have, 2 or 3 seats just reserved for y'all? But they were of the opinion when we had that conversation that we should be just collaborating in general more, and us also going to them instead of being like, come to us and represent over here. But I have encouraged them to run. We just don't have that delegated specifically. So we were in conversation. That's something we have talked about in the past, because especially the leadership of those organizations are people of color and people from different backgrounds, which is something we want to work on, because if you look at us, we're not the most colorful group here. And that's something we definitely want to work on, because we do want to represent the interests of all the students and that's something we're working towards. And we're still in conversation with them and we really want to collaborate with different organizations around campus to further different perspectives and opinions and backgrounds and things like that. So that was a great question. Elena, do you have any questions for us? Oh no, I still can't hear you. I'll give you a second to type. Yes. I'm just gonna say this since now I'm recording and Elena wasn't here earlier. But a couple things about student government is we have our General Assembly meetings on Tuesday evenings at 7. They will be on Zoom, of course, this semester. We will usually have council meetings at that same time on the weeks that we do not have General Assembly, but those are also subject to change depending on the needs. Like, for example, Finance Council tends to meet at different times because student activities also needs to be brought in on those meetings. So there are definitely some exceptions like that. And then we do, one thing I didn't mention before, Rachel, but we do have a pretty strict attendance policy. It's really not that strict. It's like you can't have more than 3 absences that aren't excused. And yeah, and then Kaden would be the one to inform people that they have to leave. But it's really not that strict, and we just need to know ahead of time. And of course, if extenuating circumstances come up, we are students and understanding people too. And then one of the most important things I think that we do, Elena, I'm sorry, I don't know which one's correct because I can't hear you, is one of them, I'm hoping, is we sit on committees around campus. So sometimes we're the only student voice in the room. So I think that's one of the most important roles that student government plays. What sort of issues have you worked with the past, and what do you do involving the administration? So those are great questions. Our actual advisor, so if you don't know too much about student organizations, they all have to have an advisor to even start as an organization, and sometimes that can change over time depending, if that person leaves. They're usually a faculty member, although I believe they can be staff too. Yeah, I know actually for a fact that they can. But our advisors are Dean Shelley Story and Vice President of Student Life, Jamie Woody. So we have a very direct connection with them, and we try to meet about once a month, if not more. And we email a lot. Kaden, who's Vice President, and I have been emailing with them a lot this week because with elections and everything coming up. So we do that. And then on the committees, there are a lot of different people from administrative, people in the administration, staff, faculty, all sit on those committees. So that's another way we connect with them. And they come to us sometimes if they're having an issue or something they want to know more about the student body is feeling about a particular thing. Also, anyone else, feel free to chime in. I don't want to be the only person talking. And what sort of issues have we worked on in the past? So one of the things about student government is we have not been the most active organization in the past couple of years. To be quite honest, we haven't really done a lot. And that's one thing I'm really excited about, that I was elected and that we have such great people in this executive council. We had a whole meeting this summer about all our different goals and visions for what we want to do, what we want to see. So I'm hoping to remedy that, and I want to just get us in gear and start working on some different things. But one of our major goals for this year is to work with CDSJ organizations to sort of support them in what they're doing and help in any way that we can with that, and just work on strengthening the communication. And we really do want the student, because if you talk to probably especially upperclassmen, they're probably going to tell you that we don't do anything because we haven't the past couple of years. So I'm really hoping we can change that. And I really want sort of the perception, because I want people who take student government seriously to join us and help us in this. Because I definitely think in the past people would just join because it's something they can put on their resume, and we want people that are actually passionate about the school and about what we're doing. Hopefully that answers your questions. Yeah, Max, feel free to add.
Just to bring up specific things that we've done with the school, Anna, maybe you want to talk about, I think was it Megan's project last year about supplying pads and tampons in the bathrooms?
Yeah, so that's something we kind of got a little, I don't want to say overshadowed. So that it was not this Megan. We had another Megan who was parliamentarian. She graduated this past year. And we were working on getting free tampons and pads in the bathroom, which we have now, but unfortunately we can't take the credit for that. That is something the Green Project, which I'm not even completely sure what that is, to be quite honest. But it is like also a sustainability issue. So that's something that they've started doing, which I think is really great. But we have worked on different things like that in the past. And we also have like sections in the student handbook, which that's like a document we use a lot as a student government. I think like something that would be fun. I mean, I don't know if anyone else would think it was fun, but like a Kahoot about the student handbook, because I was an orientation leader and I told my students to at least glance over it, because it not only tells you important information, but it also gives you like your rights as a student, because Southwestern is a private school. So we have different rules than like state schools do. So I think it's really important to know your rights as a student here at Southwestern. It also tells you like what your RAs are supposed to do in what capacity, to call out Will, who is an RA, and like what faculty's responsibilities are and the administration's responsibilities are. So I think that's a really helpful government or document. It's kind of like Southwestern's Constitution and Bill of Rights all put into one, if that makes sense. Yeah, so our purpose is to sort of be that communication branch between organizations. Like Will, he is our organization's chair. So one thing we're working on is making sure all active organizations know him and like know he's the person to go to if they have issues or special interests that they want us to help with. We are also responsible for approving new organizations, which I know there are several, such as Educators for Equity, which like it's like two of my friends who are starting it, and I think that's going to be an awesome organization. And I think student government is just a more like general group. Like we just work to help everyone else, sort of, if that makes sense. At least that's our goal, versus a lot of other organizations, they have, you know, one specific purpose that they're working towards. And we're sort of, yeah, go ahead, Megan. Do that onto that.
I would say like other social justice groups, like a lot of the CDSJ groups, they do stuff that is involved with the community, and they do like, well, I guess not so much anymore, but like outside events, things like that, through like the Pirates for Pride group. I went to a conference in like Detroit. So they do stuff that's more outside of the realm, but student government focuses on like the student body and then the administration and like how students are represented within the institution of Southwestern.
Just to also add like a small comment onto that, like I like to think of student government as the way our government's supposed to act, in the sense of we're supposed to ask people what they want us to be doing, and our job is supposed to do that.
Yes,
like
exactly.
In our General Assembly meetings, we ask the student body, like, or our General Assembly, like, what are some things that you guys want changed on campus? And then we talk about it and figure out how to move forward. And I think part of the things we want to do this year is try to make sure a lot more of that stuff is starting to get done.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Cal and Megan. Those were both great points.
And we also created a suggestion box.
Yes, Kaden also did something great over the summer. You want to talk about it, Kaden?
Yeah, so one of the committees that I sit on has a suggestion box for like staff members. And so when staff members have issues and complaints or something, and you know, like it's really hard to put all the meetings all the time to like voice your concerns, they have a suggestion box where people fill out this form with their complaints. And then every meeting we go over through that suggestion box. So I thought if the students had that, that would be a great way for like people to voice their concerns anonymously or even like with their name on it. And so we over the summer just replicated that and made a student suggestion box that we should probably put that now that school has started on our like social medias so that people can use, and then also figure out, because we're working with student activities, to like have our own page where you can find that suggestion box with the Google form to fill out any of your concerns, comments, complaints, whatever you need to let student government know.